You have no idea what to expect, except the stories from your older brother. You get your class schedule and you see Miss Buck for freshman English, that one teacher your brother warned you about. How she is so mean, so strict, so unfair, so demanding. Great. Just gonna have to survive this class, I suppose. Month 1, waiting for the hammer to drop, someone to get yelled at, some irrational expectation to come. But nothing. It was actually pretty mellow. That makes sense. She probably gets you feeling comfortable before the torture begins. Month 2, defenses are still up. Nothing. Another nice month in Miss Buck's class. Month 3, same. Month 4, no change. By the end of the school year, the thought strikes you. What your brother said wasn't the case anymore. Maybe it never was. Turns out Miss Buck is a pleasant, encouraging, thoughtful teacher who you spent the whole year thinking this teacher was going to snap. But then you realize you missed out on a great year with a great teacher. There are so many Miss Buck situations in our lives. We allow our opinions to be shaped by others' input, something we overheard, saw on TV, or just assumed. And so many times those opinions are inaccurate or just flat out wrong. Today, I want to dive into the idea that our expectations greatly impact our perceptions and opinions of the world around us. And without a keen awareness of this fact, we can end up with a very misguided, judgmental, unwarranted perceptions and opinions, which can be very damaging and harmful to those around us, and even to us. To develop this thought, we need to take a look at how our brains function. Disclaimer, entire books have been written on this, and there's so much research that could possibly be discussed right now, but there's one concept that seems to give an explanation on this topic, and this is top-down versus bottom-up processing. Top-down processing is perceiving the world around us by drawing from what we already know in order to interpret new information, and was introduced by Richard Bakery in 1970. Top-down processing involves the brain sending down stored information to the sensory system as it receives information from the stimulus, enabling a plausible hypothesis to be made without the need to analyze every feature of the stimulus. So in simple terms, our brain has files. And like Mr. Lindemann said in the beginning, just now, the speech that we were preparing for, I bombed it at first, practicing in front of the class. And so my brain right now is pulling up all those files of the bad time. Even though I could be doing good, it's saying, we're going back to that first time you did it. Now, bottom-up processing is a different theory presented by James J. Gibson in 1966, and it relies on sensory input. Simply put it, the bottom-up uses sensory input like stubbing your pinky toe and uses reality. But let's go back and talk about top-down processing. Just like the failed speech and Miss Buck examples, our memories stored in our mental files have a huge impact on our opinions and perceptions. Now, I hear you saying, those are only a couple examples. Well, here's a few more. When you're a kid and you get knocked over by a wave at the beach, and you don't ever want to go to the beach again. Or you eat too many chocolate chip cookies, get sick, and never want to eat another chocolate chip cookie again. Or you have a bad experience with someone, one individual person, in a certain group. You name the group, political group, ethnic group, gender, socio-economic, whatever it is. You have one bad experience, and from that point, make a sweeping judgment about the whole group. All these negative experiences go into those mental files, and they have become a lens and criteria you use when dealing with any similar situations, and sometimes this is a good thing. If you get bit by a spider while putting on your shoe, that becomes a mental file to remind you to check your shoe every time. But in other examples, those mental files, those memories, they cost us. They cost us the pleasure of the beach, the taste of that cookie, and most importantly, the potential friendships and relationships with people. So how do we manage top-down processing? How do we manage those mental files? Use them in a healthy way, but not let them hurt us or cost us? Well, we just need to stop and think. Use discernment, forgive, filter the input we're receiving from others, and sometimes just have the courage to rebel against those inner speculation or fear files and take some chances. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but take everything you hear with a grain of salt, because what others think may not be the truth, and be mindful that your brain can cloud your judgment. Now, let's go back to Miss Buck, the sweet teacher, and how you perceived her based on what your brother saw her. So next time someone asks you about someone or something, be mindful that the brain is a complex place and likes to play tricks. Those memory files shouldn't control you or define your values. So go hit the beach, enjoy the cookie, meet some new people, and most importantly, give Miss Buck a chance.
Wow, good stuff. Question for you. When you had that classroom experience you mentioned, which was very candid, good for
Yeah.
you, and then you knew this was coming.
Yeah.
How did you use what you had researched, if you did at all,
Yeah.
to help you? What specifically did you do to help you for right now?
I just knew that it was going to be like the brain was going to pull those files, and so I thought it's not going to be that exact situation. That situation was back in that classroom, and I like in one event. This is going to be an entirely new event.
So you learned the grace of preemption.
Yeah.
You got very good. It's a great
Oh, yeah.
report that you gave. It's really the foundation for bias, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Great job. 10 words or less.
The mind can be a barrier, but it can also be a tool.
Excellent. Another t-shirt.
Great job with your speech. I wanted to ask you, in your own experience, in your own, like you were talking about even with this speech, right? Do you think that for you it's been more of a benefit to have that? What I remember, this is a little side note, one of my classmates when we did senior speeches did a speech on what's called rosy retrospection, which I don't know if you came across that in your research, but is when you look back on a memory and think fondly of it, even if it was really terrible. So I can think, oh, senior speeches were great, but I know the stress that goes into them. You know, I'm not, like, there's no hiding that. Do you think in your experience you kind of had, like, does your brain, or is there certain things that you think about with rosy retrospection more, or is it more of a thing that in your experience you kind of experience it in the bad ways, like with speeches or things like that, or do you think it's more relative?
I think it's more relative.
Yeah.
You know what? Austin, that was short and sweet, and you got the balance in there, so let's give him a hand, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.